Today I'm going to show you guys a couple of books that I have that are, I think, some really good survival books. Let's start with 98.6 Degrees by Cody Lundin. This is a good book. It has a lot of stuff about hypothermia and hyperthermia, but it's mainly about short-term survival. It's not, if you're planning on staying out in the woods for a long time, this is not what you want. It's a good extra book because it teaches you how to stay warm, but it has nothing on food or shelter construction. But it is still a pretty good book. So I would recommend it, but get other books too. It'd be good for starting you off if you're looking to get started into books and stuff. Second one is Ultimate Guide to Wilderness Living, and teaches you how to survive with nothing but your bare hands. And it's pretty good. It teaches you how to, that's him making a bow right there. Not just a survival bow, but like a primitive bow, ones that the Indians would have used. And then a lot of shelters and tools and making tools and friction fire and flint knapping, and there's a lot of good information in this book. And then in the back there's like brain tanning deer skins. There's how to fire clay pots, how to make baskets. So if I could only have two books, it would probably be this one and then 98.6, because they go together really well. But this book does not teach you how to purify water, so that's just another little thing about that book. Next book is Outdoor Survival Handbook by Ray Mears. This is a pretty good book, but it's a lot more about camping and just like knowing like how animals act, but there's some stuff like making fishing hooks and making shelters and clay pottery, basket weaving. It's like a mix of primitive living and camping. These are just fun skills to know and things you can practice, but the traps in the back of the book, if I can find them, are weird. Like, I tried to build that trap, and I've tried many times, and it just, I mean, the animal would have to like rip it apart for it to go off. It's not very sensitive at all. However, the other traps are pretty good. So yeah, so there's some unneeded information in this book, but I still think it's pretty good and worth mentioning. U.S. Army Survival Handbook is a really good book. It's got a lot of stuff like staying hidden, which is really what you don't want. But also it's got a lot about food, water, shelter, fire, and that sort of thing. Pretty good. I would also recommend this book. There's a lot about making tools and weapons in this book, which is good, especially if you're around bears or have to you have to finish off some animals. Not a whole lot about plants, but good to know. A lot of stuff about food for some reason. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this book too. So alright. Hawk's Green Beret Survival Manual by Michael Hawk. This is a pretty thick book. It's not a field guide, something you'd have at home. If you want a field guide, this is basically the same thing, except in a lot more compact version of it, and I'll show you guys this in a minute. I'm actually still in the process of reading this book, but it is so good that I'm going to actually just tell you guys about it now. And there's a lot of good, real survival stuff in here, from signaling to making tools, making camp, keeping everything organized, things like that, navigation, knots, making baskets, making nets, making a bow, making a bola, making clubs, sharpening your knife, making a survival stick. There's nutritional facts about bugs, like how healthy they are for you and how much fat and protein they have. And then there's just plants listed for every region that you like. It doesn't show you a picture, but you can go on the internet and look it up. And these are just the main plants that you could find in that area. So there's some stuff about fish hooks. So overall, this is just a very good book, and I would recommend it. And a lot of good information about shelter there, too. Here's Hawk's Special Forces Survival Handbook. The corners, when I got it, was kind of like falling apart, so I just put some duct tape on them. And this book is really, like, you could fit it in your backpack real easy. And then on the back, there's shelter, or just what it covers: shelter and water, food and fire, tools and medicine, getting out alive, survival psychology, and navigation and signaling. It's basically just everything is from that book is just summarized in this book. But like, I forgot how to make a bow, and then I'll just go and look it up and make a bow real quick, or at least just like, I forgot how to carve a bow or make a bola or make that trap or whatever. So it's good to have a portable guide for survival. And the last book is SAS Survival Guide, the revised edition. You might be asking, why is there duct tape on the outside of it? I duct tape a lot of my books because it makes them more, I feel like it makes the cover more water resistant and more resistant to tearing. And if I had to, I could take off this duct tape and use it as a resource in a survival situation, as like a fire starter or to repair things. A lot of different uses for duct tape in a survival situation. This is the most popular survival book. Most likely, I don't know that for a fact, but it is very good, and it's like, everyone knows about this book, or most people do. And there's everything from crossing rivers to making nets to tying knots to making weapons, making clothing, making tools from bones, cooking, a lot of stuff about cooking. A lot of things that in most survival situations you really wouldn't use, but a whole lot of stuff on shelter. But by things you wouldn't really use, I mean like, you're not going to build what they call a Yukon stove, which is like you're not going to be baking bread in a survival situation, is just what I'm saying. You know what I mean? But there's still a lot of good stuff in this book. Lots of traps. Lots of dangerous traps that you probably wouldn't make. And like, you want to have, that trap isn't very sensitive, but it would take a long time to gather logs heavy enough to kill anything that would go into that trap, like a raccoon or a possum. You need heavy green logs for that, with a lot more logs stacked on back of them. And and one of the snares it said this is good for larger animals such as deer and bear, and you're not going to snare a bear in a survival situation because they're very aggressive. And there's lots of pictures in this one of the plants, and then a small description next to it, and it tells you what your body needs, so like nutrition wise, and shows you tracks, and it shows you like different biomes of the world, so like what you need to consider in each area, like Boro Forest, stay next to the river, and just because fish are going to be abundant, and it'll be easier than hunting in real thick brush and things like that. One more book that I would recommend is Survive by Les Stroud. I have that duct taped up there, but I don't feel like going through it today. It's got a lot of, it's not like Bear Grylls, you're, running around and doing everything real quick and jumping through forests, and it's like you're staying in one spot and just kind of waiting out, But there's some stuff on traveling in that book. So those are just a couple books that I would recommend. The more books you have and have read, I think the better off you are. So if you're looking for a survival book, one of those would just be a really good book. Alright. See you guys next time.